How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk, now that we are about 3 months into Dragonflight and that we are starting to look forward to things like 10.1 and some new patch and some new content, I wanted to take a quick little bit of a look at the current state of crafting. Now, depending on exactly how I've thumbnailed and titled this video, I want to put out there the opinion of mine personally, and this comes from somebody that's incredibly invested in the crafting side of the game. Leveling your professions right now, especially your crafting professions, is totally pointless. Like, unbelievably pointless. There's practically no reason for anybody to ever even bother. Why is this though, and how is it called? How have we landed in this sort of situation? And what are my justifications for thinking like this? Now, what I want to do today is both present what I feel is the problem, but also present a solution. I really despise it when people just complain about something without any sort of tangible solution. So I have come up with a solution, and I think it's a solution that is both easy to implement and a complete win-win for everybody that's involved. And so I hope that you guys can get on board with this and we can, maybe push this forward. And let's see. If Blizzard see it, Blizzard see it. But I tell you what, I'm actually going to bring my notes on screen. I do this quite frequently. I think it does help for people who are trying to, keep up with what's going on as well. Let's put those just there then. So my thought here is that the leveling of professions is pretty pointless. And so I need to break down why I think this is. What are the two main reasons then why people actually bother with the professions in the first place? If you play World of Warcraft and if your main focus is raiding or your main focus is Mythic Plus, why would you be incentivized to play with the professions in any way, shape or form? Well, number one, people look towards the professions as a way to make some gold in the game. It seems simple, right? It seems silly, but it is the foundation, and it's got to be a valid reason. It's got to be a valid outcome, right? If you're going to put the time and the effort and often the resources into leveling your professions, you want there to be some, monetary reason for doing that in many cases. It doesn't have to be Shadowlands legendary level of gold making, not by any means, but you at least want to make something, right? At the moment, that's pretty invalid. There's not really the option to make a huge amount of gold or almost any gold in any reason with the professions at the minute, but we'll talk about why in a second. The second reason that I tend to feel that most people might look to play with the professions is from a self-sufficiency reason. To use that same example, if you are often in the, if your main gameplay avenue is Mythic Plus or your main gameplay avenue is raiding, you probably consume potions and vials and things on a regular basis. It would make a lot of sense for you then to maybe look at leveling up alchemy, for example, as a way of saving some gold, to be more efficient. You can gather some materials or you can purchase some materials off the auction house and you can craft those potions at a cheaper rate than what it would probably cost you if you just bought them off the auction house all the time. Today, not the case. None of those two main reasons are really valid at the moment. Why? Well, it takes an awful lot of effort to level up your professions to even get to an equal level with other players right now. Without any sort of seemingly catch-up systems for the professions in any way, shape or form, it's going to take you both a long time, a lot of effort, and probably a lot of gold to actually level up these professions. Those profession tools at top quality are not cheap still. You need 2 accessories and a tool, both at tier 2 quality. You need to cover the cost of leveling the profession from 0 to 100. You need to harvest first-time crafts, meaning you need to be crafting one of everything to get the knowledge points to fill out your skill tree. You then need the time to go out into the open world and gather as many knowledge points, whether it be through questing or dirt piles or killing rares for dragon shards, whatever the case may be. The upfront effort of leveling the professions is pretty vast. Now, my solution is not going to undermine any of that. That is still going to be a thing. And actually, I genuinely feel that it is quite a good thing that it exists. A barrier to entry does, in theory, mean that it should be easier to make gold when you get to the top. The problem we have now, though, is that those that even do push to the top, most of the things they're crafting are going on the region-wide auction house to where the competition is outrageous. Crazy levels of competition, because you're not just competing against the handful of other crafters on your realm anymore, you're competing against the entire region. I, crafting on Draenor, am competing against players on Kazakh. I'm competing against players on Taran Mill. If you're on Tichondrius, you're competing against characters on Illidan. It doesn't matter where you play, you're competing against everybody else in your region, and that has the natural effect over time of squishing the amount of gold you can make with professions to minuscule amounts. There's a disconnect here then, isn't there? There's a disconnect that the leveling up process is pretty vast. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And that juicy carrot on the end of the stick doesn't end up being a juicy carrot on the end of the stick. It's just a pile of turd. And those that have enough foresight can see into the future, and they can see that the reward is just not there. And so hence the professions are pointless. Nobody is going to look to invest into the professions. And if they end up being pointless and they end up staying pointless, there's a problem from a development point as well. Blizzard are going to look at this profession revamp and go, you know what? Nobody bothered. Scrap it. Let's delete it all. Let's go back to a simpler system. So how do we deal with this then? I have come up with a solution. I've come up with a solution that I think could be implemented pretty easily. I present to you augmented commodities. This is a solution that I think could fix a lot of these problems. It's easy to implement, and it's a win-win situation for everybody involved. Let me take 2 minutes to explain what augmented commodities are and how they could be implemented and how they have, how they could be of benefit to people. So, a crafter. Let's take. I'll give a full breakdown, a full example in a minute. But the bullet points for your augmented commodities are as such: a crafter, once they are skilled enough in their profession, can augment a crafting pattern that they already have learnt. Now, of course, there is probably going to need to be some things ironed out here. How many recipes can you augment? At what frequently can you augment them? There's some teething issues still to work out, but let me continue. If you choose to augment a recipe, what it is in essence going to do is reduce the quantity of materials by 50%. A massive discount. It does mean that a few patterns might need to have their materials balanced for this to work, but it's going to provide a real strong, tangible benefit to the crafter. It's going to mean that if you frequently make something, you can now make it at a considerably cheaper rate than everybody else. A tangible benefit for you. The catch here to limit the impact of this region-wide is that the augmented crafts become bind on pickup. This means that there is no resale on these items. It is entirely designed for personal use. Any of those to begin with, and we'll talk about why in a minute. It gives you that benefit. It means the carrot on the end of the stick becomes a little bit juicier, right? It means that one of the key points that we looked at a second ago in regards to crafting stuff for yourself and saving gold becomes valid again. Once you are skilled enough in your profession, you can start augmented recipes and see a tangible benefit. No longer do you need to buy those things off the auction house, but you can craft them for yourself and they will be cheaper. The big point here is cheaper. Because there is a risk of power gain. There is a real hot topic in Dragonflight of keeping the power gain to a minimum. Augmented commodities would be exactly the same as their quality 3 counterparts. You're not going to see any tangible power benefit to using augmented commodities. The only advantage to you personally would be that they're cheaper to produce. Augmented commodities could, though, be ordered via the work order system. This goes to fix one of the biggest problems I see with the work order system right now, and it's that nobody really has a great incentive to use it. This, though, would be a phenomenal incentive for people to use the work order system. My example will go through in a bit more detail and hopefully shine some light on this in a bit more. And with an additional benefit, this is just one small little thing that I thought it would be worthwhile noting, is that augmented public orders, public only, to give a restriction on how many can be done in any given time frame, but augmented public orders would guarantee you a skill point for your profession. Today, in Dragonflight, so many people are still stuck at around the 60, 70 skill mark in their professions, knowing that if they get to 100, that extra 30 skill points is really going to help them with their crafting. But the total reliance on public work orders and crafting of gear has meant that it's really difficult for some players to get from that sort of 50, 60, 70 mark to 100. If your augmented public orders for other people guarantee a skill point over a period, you get 4 public orders, you regenerate, like 1 per day. Over a couple of weeks, you will slowly chip away. There will be plenty of public orders for this sort of stuff. And so it gives a way for people to, if they're not leveling up the natural way of crafting gear, for people to chip away slowly but surely. Let me give you an example, though. All of this might sound a lot more concrete if I give you an example. So, Mr. Alchemist, right? Mr. Alchemist has leveled up his profession. He's done a bit of the work to begin with. And he is crafting and he's selling DPS vials. A potion of elemental, whatever it's called. A generic DPS vial. He's able to craft it at quality 3, but the materials in total sum up to a value of about 1,000 gold. These numbers are hypothetical. It's just for the maths here. About 1,000 gold to craft this thing at quality 3. That's what you can roughly find them for on the auction house. That's roughly the value of the materials that go into them. They choose to augment this pattern. If they choose to augment this pattern, that then reduces the material cost for them down to only 500 gold. A massive saving, a solid, tangible saving that's worthwhile somebody trying to achieve, right? They then are happily going to make a supply of those vials for themselves for the raid, and most likely are going to look to fill some guild orders for their guildies as well. Soon as somebody in the guild gets wind of the fact that there's an alchemist that's augmented the certain DPS vial that they need, boom, in come the guild orders. That crafter can then, choose to whether they charge a commission or not for the guild orders. That's their prerogative. Either way, it becomes an option. They make a little bit of side income from regular work orders, charging mats plus 250 gold. So a sum total of 750 gold for each of these vials. Why would that be a thing, though? Well, let's look at it from both viewpoints, right? The crafter has a cost of 500 gold. They charge a 250 gold commission, and it sums up to 750 gold. The crafter is happy. Crafter's happy they've made 250 gold per order. It's only small, but you can do a lot of them. The buyer is also happy. Why is the buyer happy? Well, the buyer's happy because they've got 1,000 gold worth of potions, or vials in this case. They've got 1,000 gold vial for the cost of only 750. They have the alternative. The buyer, has the alternative of going to the regular auction house. They could go to the auction house and they could pick up conveniently. They could pick up that same vial for 1,000 gold. Auction house, long boy, auction house, buy the vial, Katie stamp whistle, get it from the mailbox, 20 seconds, really quick and easy, but the going rate for them is 1,000 gold. If they're proactive, if they put in the work orders, if they find that alchemist that can make these for them, make them the augmented versions, which are, as we mentioned earlier, exactly the same as a quality 3 equivalent. There's no power gain to doing this. It's just a cost saving. The buyer's happy, the crafter's happy. The alchemist can then still continue to mass craft and sell the non-augmented, the regular quality 3 variations on the region-wide auction house for their going market rate, which is, probably going to be within a sort of 5 to 10% margin either way. So I feel this very quickly creates a solution to many of the problems we talked about. It talks about, professions should be able to make some gold. Well, it gives the alchemy an avenue to make some gold that they don't currently have. It gives them, as a specialist in a certain area, an advantage over others, both to themselves and also to other people. It also, by proxy of that, gives them the benefit that they can make these things for themselves. And it ticks both of those initial reasons to why you may, go out there and play with the professions in the first place. I don't think it's going to be detrimental to any of the current markets for these items on the region-wide auction house. Because like I said, the region-wide auction house, one of the biggest advantages is it's convenient, right? It's super quick, it's super easy, it's super convenient. But as we know, pretty much everything on the region-wide auction house is either let's be real here, it's pretty much sold for its crafting cost or within a small fraction of that. There's never so much gold to be made on the region-wide auction house, but you can sell a lot very quickly. That's kind of the theory. So, what do you think, boys and girls? Do you think that these augmented commodities might be a solution? I think implementing something like this is remarkably simple for Blizzard to do. It doesn't provide any tangible power spike to the professions, meaning that your Mythic Pluses, your Raiders, your PvPs are then not going to look at professions as a min-max opportunity. They will simply look at them from the utility that they should provide to themselves as players. I think it does quite a good job, and I think it could push professions in a really comfortable position. It would spike the reasons to use work orders as well. A generic reason, a tangible, actual, solid reason to use work orders. Because let's not forget, Blizzard did try and put reagents on the work order system, but you'd actually have to be out of your mind to order them because they are substantially cheaper as it stands on the current auction house. So, yeah, that didn't work. This, though, could offer some sort of win-win situation. It's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think on this, boys and girls. I think that the augmented commodity system could work quite well. It obviously needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. There'd be a slight variation of this, obviously, for gear. Gear would need a slightly different solution, I think, because there is still an inherent problem that there's a good 40% of your crafts for any profession that you just never make because there's a best in slot or nothing mentality for gear. Maybe I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in another video. But yeah, this video's ended up being a little bit longer than I expected to. I feel as if I'm rambling right now. Leave your comments leave your thoughts and comments down below, and give the video a like if you enjoyed it, boys and girls. I've been Manthieus. I'll see you all next time. Peace.